Hi Jen, this is the updated flow. First thing, I got rid of those get record elements we talked about and made some major changes to the components of the flow. So, watching some basic building ScreenFlow videos, I learned that there's a best practice way to building the components that I wasn't doing. Originally, I was creating components by creating record variables for the object's account in cases, which would populate their fields here, and then I would place into the ScreenFlow. But really, best practice is to take those data types of the fields that you want in the ScreenFlow. For example, if I wanted a field for birth date, I would take the data type date, place it into the ScreenFlow here, and then give it the appropriate label. And then travel over to create records and add this field here to fill for the object account and its field birth date. And from the value of the screen component, I created the birth date. But originally what I was doing was filling it from the record variable I created on the object account, which populated from the field birth date. So, but here I'm using the screen component. Another addition that's different is I added the finish or done screen that we talked about. And that definitely made a huge difference in the flow. So I was able to do this by manually assigning the ID of the newly created account and case record to different variables so that the user can click into or onto the link for those newly created records from the finish screen, or they can click finish to create a new page with blank fields of the auto entry page. This debugged very well, so because I know that, I want to go ahead and show you the button on the account list view and how that's working. So we'll head on over there. Just going to go ahead and refresh this so that it's on the correct version. And definitely still taking a little time to load, but not as long as the last time we saw it. So going to select some test values here. And I remember you talking about how we wanted to get rid of the country value on the mailing address, but I don't believe that's going to be an option because these are pre-populated values for this screen component. So I went ahead and gave it a default value of USA because that's going to be the majority of our users, if not all of them. Right, I'm going to go ahead and click next. All right, and it gives us a link to both the account record and case record. I'm going to go ahead and click into the case record. So here we have me as the case owner, the contact name, account number, status code with the default value. The case record type was gotten accurately, and so it's showing as care plan. The subject name is auto-generated as the last name and a 0. Need to investigate why that is. In and out is ER, admit date. And let's see here. Excellent. So all of that looks pretty good. Going to go into the account, and you see the case is attached to the account. Into details, we have the account name, the record type ID was retrieved accurately, the birth date, social security number, medical record number, phone, and the mailing address. What we're not seeing here is the hospital, even though we did select mHealth, and I'll talk about that next. So talking next about the hospital lookup field issue, went back to investigate this on the account object, and there are two fields for hospital. Previously, I was using this API name for this lookup field, and if you look at this field and where it is used, it's used in the batch, and here my flow and another flow, but not on the person account page layout. But let's check the other hospital with this API name. Where is it used? And this one is used on the person account layout. As well as, I'll point out that its filter criteria is not person accounts, which means it's looking at the hospitals that are client accounts, such as mHealth, etc. So I made a change to the screens and the created records that they looked at the API name correctly for that field. So let's check that it's here as well. Yes. So now I'm going to activate this one, and we'll take a look at it on the button on the account list view. So returning to the account list view, we're going to populate some fields. And I've had to be really careful when populating this field because sometimes it'll give me a duplicate error. Already. Here we go. Excellent. So we'll go ahead and go to account record and check the hospital field. Excellent. And this time it is populated. So finally, the only things to really look into that are left is combining the account and case owner fields into one and creating a person contact ID field. So addressing the first, I made a lookup field from case to account. And the problem with this is it doesn't include the user object. You really need a lookup field on 3 objects, which currently does not exist in Salesforce, as you can see here. So custom lookup field to multiple objects. You can't do this as of now. But here I tried for the one I created that was a lookup from case to account. And we'll go ahead and try and debug this and see what happens. So give it some fields. And as you can see, it's having difficulty putting in the default value of user ID because it doesn't have a lookup to the user object. So error occurred, field integrity exception, owner ID value of incorrect type. And so next, talking about lookup, or not lookup, but creating the person contact ID variable. So the issue with that is created as a separate ID when the account record is created first. So the account record is created and it creates two different variables. It creates an account ID and a person contact ID. When you create a new record inside of a flow, you can manually assign this new ID to only one variable as far as I can tell, which I have here to the account ID. I have not found a way to assign a new record to multiple variables, which I will continue to investigate to see how we can do that. So this is what I have thus far. I would say we're about 95% of the way there, just trying to resolve these last two issues, but currently as it is, the flow does work. So I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Bye.